And a very good morning. Welcome to a Saturday preview of racing at York and at Haydock with myself, Dave Massey. 11 on a Friday morning. I've had plenty of time to look at the Saturday cars because I wasn't doing a great lot yesterday, so I got stuck into it a bit when decks came out, and then I've just sort of finalised really where I want to go this morning. The weather looks set reasonably fair for both today and tomorrow at York. Bits and pieces of rain at the moment, no more than that. The forecast I'm looking at suggesting no more than 2 or 3 mil, and that will be fine. I think it'll make a great deal of difference to the ground, which they were calling good and good to soft in places this morning. I think it'll pretty much stay like that. A couple of my selections won't mind actually if it rains a bit more, but we'll come to that in time. We'll start at the very beginning with the 140 at York. Not on TV this race, but I'm covering it because there's one in here I really like actually. It's one of my I think it might be one of my better bets of the day, and that is Udalali, the 4-horse here, trained by Andrew Balding. Harry Davis, find of the season, claiming 7 off of it, and I think that's a big key tomorrow. Andrew's used Harry a couple of times already this season when Sean So Bright's needed £7 off his back, and this will take Udalali, the £7 off here will take Udalali back down to his last winning mark effectively. They won at Newcastle off around this time last year. Form just tailed off a little bit towards the end of last season. A bad effort at Ascot on heavy ground can easily be forgiven. Came back this year after a wind operation and ran 5th to Boardman at Haydock. Got beaten just over 2 lengths and looked very much in need of the run. Just looked a little bit rusty. I thought he'd come on plenty for that, and I fancied him at Chester, but the ground, he was taken out because of the ground. I think the ground tomorrow at Haydock should be fine for him. Won't mind at York should be fine, I should say. Won't mind if there is a drop more rain overnight. He's won on good to soft, I should say, before, so that won't be an issue. I just think he'll come on plenty for the Haydock run. I think York will suit. Harry Davis taking 7 off. Clues are all there, I think, tomorrow. I think he's got a really good chance in a race that most of them are fully exposed. We know where we are with these sort of horses. They're nice horses, and they're all winning the turn. I thought another back might win at first class time, and was a little bit disappointing. Probably needs to come down a pound or two. Similar comments probably now apply to Northern Express. There's a win somewhere in Snash this season. You got to keep Snash on side. It'll be autumn time, I think. When he's down to sort of somewhere between 80, 85, there is definitely a win in Snash. Probably won't be tomorrow for Tim Easterby, but I would be interested in him in the York meetings later in the season. Definitely keep an eye on him, put him on side. But I think tomorrow, I say a lot of it to me points towards Udalali being one of my better selections, hopefully on the day. 255 at York is one of 2 TV races on ITV4, this one being this 5 furlong handicap, where I've no doubt there'll be some support for Copper Knight. I'd say if you fancy Copper Knight, I mean, he was disappointing at York last week. If you do, he's the sort of horse that will just pop up. Back in win only, Copper Knight, if you fancy Copper Knight. If you look at his overall record at York, he tends to either win or blow out. There's never a time when he finishes 2nd, 3rd, 4th. He's just a win or nothing merchant. So if you fancy Copper Knight tomorrow, as much as you'll get extra places, I would, if you do, I would back in win only. My shortlist consists of 3. Jawal is the first one. Caught everybody's eye at York behind Fine Wine last week, where he travelled into the race really well, didn't get a run, and Paul Mulrennan was not hard on him from sort of 2 furlong out, really. Let him come home in his own time at that point, and that was clearly a much better effort than the finishing position suggests. That was his first run since September. He'll come on plenty for that. Connor Beasley gets on well with him. The only negative I could find was stall 1, which might not be where you want to be tomorrow. You want to be low, but not that low. I would suggest, maybe low to middle is better than that. On saying that, one of the 2 I fancy is drawn on the other side in stall 14, and that's Zargan, who was 3rd in this race last year, also from a high draw when the 1st, the 2nd, the 4th and the 5th were all drawn middle to low. He came from a high draw. And I think that sort of suits Zargan because he's a horse that needs a little bit of room to manoeuvre in. So the fact that he's out in 14 is more of a positive, I think, than a negative despite the fact what I was saying about middle to lane, maybe where you want to be. I don't think that would suit Zargan. I think being drawn on a wing will suit him a bit better. He ran all right behind. He was in that race as well with Jawal. He was sort of he was beaten 4 lengths. Was sort of there to the furlong pole, had his chance, and then again another one that just looked a little bit rusty. That was his first run since November. I think he'll come on plenty for that. And if you look at his previous York form, it looks good. He acts well on the track. He's got a couple of wins here, and as I say, in a 3rd place in this last year to his name. Jonathan Fisher knows the horse, takes 5 off. He's got his chance. I'm hoping he'll continue to drift out. And you can't ignore the claims of Alligator Alley, who was a very useful sort of 2-3 year old. Off for 18 months, came back at Wolverhampton in March and ran well to Tone de Bruyne, and then again he too was at York in the same race last week. All these 3 were the 3 that I quite like, all in the same race. He did best of them in finishing 3rd, and I think he's again there's a handicap in him this summer. He's well handicapped now off 94. It may be here, it may be next time out, but again he's just a horse that you want to be keeping on side with, I think, Alligator Alley. The 3:30, hopefully again this is another one of the better bets of the day, I think. The Bronte Cup Filly Stakes, and it's a Group 3 over 1.6 miles, and that is the key here, the fact that it's 14 furlong. Glen Artney has been crying out for a go at 14 furlongs for the best part of 12 months now, really. She looks a thorough stay, and when they had a go with her here last August in the what's it called? I can't remember. I have to get the name of the race up now. Anyway, the listed fillies race that they have here, the Goltris, that's the one in August. All she did that day was stay on. That's over 12 furlongs, and all she did all that day, she was shoved and pushed along for much of it, and then she really picked up well from 2 out to finish 3rd. That was a good effort. She was entered up at Doncaster for the May Hill, but was taken out on the fact that the ground was just far too quick for her. She really wants a little bit of cut, which, as I say, unless there is a deluge tomorrow at York or today rather, that's not expected, she won't get. She'll go on good. Good is fine, and I think the fact that it's good ground and 14 furlongs should be okay. If it was, good ground and 12 furlong, you'd be a little bit worried she'd get outpaced again. But I think good ground and 14, certainly soft side of good. If you watch your first run again at Goodwood this season, again, it just, everything about it said, that was over 12 furlong, doing all of her best work late on. It all just sort of screams 14 furlongs for Glen Artney. And I think now you might see, you'll certainly see a better horse now that she's stepped up in trip. I really do think that's the key. Over at Haydock, there's some, I think it's 3 races on the, no, it's 4 actually on the TV. No, I tell you, there's 5 races on the TV at Haydock tomorrow. The first of which is a strange one. It's a Class 5 race, and it's not really a race I looked at very much, to be perfectly honest. But when we're in Class 5s on ITV4, it's a bit of a strange one. The first race I'm interested in is the 2 o'clock. This is a 2 mile handicap. It's one where I'm just going to give a mention for one. I don't know whether it's a bet or not yet. And it's Mervello, owned by JP McManus, trained by John Joe O'Neill. And you look at this horse and think, well, this was probably bought with the jumps in mind, but maybe I don't know. She bought in the autumn, early winter last year, and maybe she's just got a bit more speed than they thought she got. And with that, perhaps we are going to have a flat campaign with Mervello. Certainly, the fact that they are running the horse, towards not quite the height of summer, but we're getting there, aren't we? In 0 to 100s, and they're booking Tom Marquand for it tomorrow. None of that particularly suggests that, a jumps campaign may be in mind for Mervello. Maybe, as I say, perhaps they are going to have a flat campaign. And with that run at Newbury first time up, behind a horse with no name, suddenly looks a lot better. It looks all right. Finished 4th or 7th there, got beaten 8 lengths. A horse with no name came out at York last week and absolutely demolished the field. And he's clearly well in front of his mark. As I say, that looks all right now. Should come on for that. Handicapper's dropped him a couple of pounds, booking a Tom Marquand. He's going to be a big price here. And as I say, it's sort of luring me in a little bit, the fact that it's a 33 chance. You might even get bigger than that tonight, because as I say, I think bookmakers will look and go, well, this is clearly just been lined up for a jumps for a jumps campaign somewhere, but not necessarily the case, I think. So it might go all right tomorrow to price my velo. Just Hubert's a more obvious one, I think. Clearly been lined up for a handicap or two this summer. Ran over 12 furlong at Ascot last time and was outpaced all the way until the final furlong where Just Hubert did what Just Hubert did. I think it will be the real extended handicaps going into the height of summer at Ascot and at Goodwood again that will be Just Hubert's main targets, but no surprise if he went a bit better as well tomorrow. I took one look at the Silver Bowl on Thursday and marked it off as too difficult. This is at 2:35. I've had another look this morning and I've still marked it off as too difficult. Good luck to you if you can find the winner of that, because I haven't got a clue where to begin. Instead, we'll have a look at the 310, the Sandy Lane. This is a bit more like it. Excuse me while I have a swig of tea. One or two interesting ones in here that will be no doubt aimed towards the Commonwealth Cup. Top of that list for me actually is Couture, Clive Cox's, who's not only got a Commonwealth Cup entry but a July Cup entry too. Looks a speedy sort. Might be one of these that ends up falling in between two stalls, and 5.5 furlongs ends up being Couture's trip. I know that's a strange thing to say for a horse that won over 6 on debut as a 2-year-old, but everything about Couture last year sort of suggested that he's a real speedy sort. I thought, I mean, he progressed all the way through last year, and ended up finishing 5th to Perfect Power in the middle part, got being a length and a half there. And it's worth pointing out that only a neck in front of him that day, of course, was Go Bears Go. Now, Go Bears Go has been put in as favourite for this at 9-4 after his win at Ascot on his debut, and he certainly trained on. He's a very quick sort as well. But I do think Couture, who did nothing wrong at Chantilly on his seasonal reappearance, got beaten 3/4 of length by Miramar there after finding a little bit of early trouble in running. That suggested to me he trained on as well, and he'll come on plenty for that, I think. Kirby chooses him over Cox's other runner in the race, Wings of War, who's got cheap pieces on first time. I had a quick look at what Clive Cox's record with cheap pieces first time is like. It's poor. 0 from 24 over the last couple of years, so there's probably another day for Wings of War. But if Go Bears Go is 9-4 here, I can't see how Couture can be a 10-1 chance. And equally, if we're going on bits of collateral form, Vertiginous can't really be 25. The worry with Vertiginous is that she might not train on. She was a speedy 2-year-old, and she too went to Del Mar and was close up behind Go Bears Go there in the juvenile, and I think you can give her a chance at 25, but it's first run of the season for her. I think she might need it, but as I say, the case can be argued that she's too big at 25 given the Go Bears Go form. Finally, at 3:45, we'll have a look at the big sprint of the day, the Temple, where the blindingly obvious one is Winter Power. This is a clever bit of placing, this, from Tim Easterby. Clever, this, because Winter Power, for all that York may be the target again in August, he's recognised here that you can get an unthought winner in because she ran poorly at both the Curragh and Longchamp on the next 2 starts. If you look at the penalty system for this, for the Temple, the penalties are after the 31st of August 2021, a winner of a group race, £5. So with that, because the unthought was won on the 20th, Winter Power doesn't pick a penalty up for this. And that makes her well in, really. She's sort of £5 well in than she should be. She's going to take a lot of beating here because she's got such speed, I think. I don't think David Allen taking a ride is any bad thing at all, to be perfectly honest. He gave her a great ride when she won at York the time before the unthought. And I think her and Last Crusader, it's possible the two of them will just go clear and not come back. Last Crusader was impressive at York last week. We've not got to the bottom of Last Crusader yet. But what I would say is I think, given Last Crusader is owned by the Clipper Logistics guys, I think York may well have been, there was obviously Clipper Logistics were sponsoring last week a bit at York. I think York may well have been what what he was lined up for. And I'm not saying that he can't win this. He can, of course he can, but he probably need a little bit more. However, the speed he showed there to beat Gilder would suggest that he and Winter Power are going to go on, and so they may go clear and not come back. A forecast is not the worst option. Of the rest, listen, I've got one eye on Arecibo, who's ridden by Ross O'Ryan tomorrow. I'd be interested to see what kind of a tune Ross O'Ryan can get out of Arecibo. I don't think for a second that it's tomorrow for Arecibo. I will be really interested in Arecibo when we get to Ascot and the King Stand, because Ascot suits him, the King Stand suits him, where they go a million miles an hour and they come back to him late, and Arecibo then can do his trick of weaving through beaten ones, and he'll get in the extra place as far as there. So not tomorrow for Arecibo. However, I'd like to see Ross O'Ryan get on really well with him, and perhaps, run through the beaten ones again, 4th, 5th. That'll do nicely for me. Keep him on side for Ascot, I think, is what I would say. And there's others in here as well. Came from the Dark, going to strip a lot fitter for the Newmarket run. He's going to progress, I think, again this year. Kings Lynn's already shown what a good sprinter he is. It's a great race. It's a really good race. Whether there's a bet, you can argue a case for Last Crusader each way, I suppose, at 12, but I think Winter Power will prove a bit too good for them. My 2 bets tomorrow then that I'm going to be having at the moment, they both come at York. Udalali in the first at 140 and Glenartney in the 330. I think they're the 2 strongest bets that I've got tomorrow. So with that, I've got a little announcement to make as well, that next week I'll be doing the daily punt on Friday and Saturday, and they will be my last daily punts, I'm afraid. Effectively, time has beaten me. I have so much to do these days that I just don't really have the time to do the punt anymore on a Friday and a Saturday, and I know that's a shame. I've really enjoyed doing it over the past few years, and I know I've had lots of kind comments, lots of really good comments for big price winners that we've managed to find over the time. I'll still be doing other stuff, of course. I will be doing, and you know where to find me if you want to read my thoughts, along with Mr. Delagis. We'll be on the Sporting Life every day on the punching pointers. But as far as the punt goes, I'm afraid, as I say, the next week, the 2 at the end of May will be my last 2. I'll still do the videos. I'm still hoping to put some of these up on the YouTube channel, and if time allows, I'll be doing a quick one every day for Royal Ascot, because I will be down there all 5 days. Right, guys, have a great weekend. Hopefully there's a winner in there. Udalali, Glenartney, one of them wins, and he should make it a decent day. Take care. Thanks a lot.